Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Savinder Puri and I'm a DevOps Evangelist with the bank in Eastern Europe. Today, we'll talk about 5 things that I personally did to scale up my career as a DevOps Evangelist. Before we dive in, let's discuss about who is a DevOps Evangelist. What does he or she do in an organization? As the name suggests, they evangelize DevOps across the enterprise. Now, what does that mean? Number 1, ensure that all the initiatives running under this banner, they give the return of investment. What does that mean? It's probably faster time to market because of competition. It's probably making your application faster, better, smoother, bringing down your major incidences, reducing your time to respond to an incident. It's proactively catching incidents. It's making your user interface better, slicker, more appealing to the younger audiences, or it's everything. That's what a DevOps evangelist does. He or she will work at the strategy level to define what is DevOps for the organization, what does that mean? Because a DevOps for a bank is very different from DevOps for a Facebook or DevOps for Netflix. DevOps for a retailer is very different because the market is different, because your business is different, because your demands are different, right? So what is DevOps for that organization and how does it fit within their construct? That's the strategy level. Then once that is decided, then comes the tooling level. What are the different tools and technologies in your organization? Is your organization already on the cloud? Is it planning to go on the cloud? Are you already on containers, serverless? How much of your content is already running on legacy applications? And probably that will stay for years to come because that's probably the core part of your business, right? So defining the DevOps tools and technologies across these multiple layers of technology, across your vertical technology stack, that's the job of a DevOps evangelist. Then third, working with the development teams to making sure they adopt these tools, technologies, the DevOps pipeline, and the mindset, very, very important, the mindset required to do continuous delivery. Another very important facet of a DevOps evangelist role is reskilling and upskilling the workforce, because a lot of the people, whether it's the operations people, whether the application admins, whether the development teams themselves, they need to reorient themselves in a different way of doing work, in a different way of working. And that is the role of a DevOps evangelist. Let me share a little bit about my profile. So I have been around in the software industry for about 21 years now. I have worked in large enterprises. I have worked in startups. I have worked in services organizations, SI system integrators. So I've kind of been around the room. I have lived in the age where in the early 2000s, we used to build on 8 versions of Linux. And the builds used to run for 48 hours on 4 parallel blade servers. To one of my recent consulting assignments was that the code which is checked in from there to production, it should go live in less than 3 hours. I have authored a book on how to build your career in DevOps, which is available on Amazon worldwide. I have been recognized by business sites 10 most dynamic leaders to watch in 2021. I'm an ambassador at DevOps Institute. These are the guys who advocate the concept of humans of DevOps. And what that means is beyond the tools and the technologies, there is a human side of DevOps, and that is even more important as the tooling, if not more. I'm also an ambassador and a community builder at CDF, Continuous Delivery Foundation. These are the guys who are maintainers of Jenkins, Nginx, Spinnaker, Tecton, and a bunch of other open source projects. I'm sure you've heard of these. I've also been recognized by Leadership Excellence by Harvard Square. Hopefully that is enough data points for you to continue watching this video. One of my mentors taught me a long time back, always check the fruit on the tree. What that means is, if you're buying a book on how to live 100 years, first check if the author has lived for more than 100 years or not, right? So if you are watching a video on how to be a DevOps evangelist, make sure that video is being given by somebody who is currently a DevOps evangelist or has been one in his or her past lives, right? So back to the 5 things. Number 1, depth of experience. In your career, in a matter of 5, 7, 10, 15 years, whatever your career has spun, make sure that you have worked in at least one large product enterprise. What happens when you work in such a large, preferably a product enterprise, is that you learn about structures, procedures, policies. You essentially learn how a big beast moves and what it takes for an organization of a very, very large size to move effectively. You learn the right way of doing things. You should also work in a startup. Why a startup? Because there you will end up knowing everything and you will end up doing much far and beyond what your roles and responsibilities were defined when you were hired, right? For example, when I used to work in a startup, I had the keys to the server farm. Server farm was just one room. This was about 12 or 13 years back, but I had the keys to the server farm. There were several nights when we slept in the data center. I knew everything and everything there was to know about the data center. So work in a startup. So between working in a large product enterprise and working in a startup, you will get the depth of experience. Second one, width of experience. What I mean by that is, typically try and see if you can work in a services company, in a system integrator company. Anyone who has projects coming in from multiple customers across geographies. So what would happen typically is, if you work there for a couple of years, you would have worked with a couple of bankers, with a couple of retailers, with a couple of manufacturing companies. Everybody has a different way of operation. Everybody will have a different technology stack. That's where you will get the width. To give you one example, at one point I was sent on an assignment to South Africa to do a workshop for DevOps for mainframe. Now, before being sent, I had no clue what a mainframe is. I had heard that banks have mainframe and they are large systems, ZOS, that's all I knew. What ended up happening was, for 4 days, I was locked up in the hotel with the mainframe guys of the organization, of my organization, and they explained to me, they gave me a 2-day crash course on what is mainframe. Then I told them on what is DevOps. And then the last day, we combined these two things and we came up with the concept of DevOps for mainframe. And then the Monday of the next week, I went into the customer's workplace and did a fantastic 4-hour workshop on how you build mainframe for DevOps. That's building width. Third one, build a brand name. That is extremely important in today's day and age and will gain more importance as your career grows, especially if you're anywhere above 7, 8, 10 years of experience. This is a must do. One exercise which I have done religiously every January of every year is this, and I challenge you to do that. Open up an incognito window on your browser, go to Google and type your name and see what pops up. There should be stuff beyond complaints on forums, my Wi-Fi is not working, my cell phone provider has an issue. Beyond all of that and beyond the Facebook and the Instagram pictures, what will one see if I search for you? Do I look at your conferences, your webinars, your talks, your blogs, Do I encounter all of this? Do I encounter your profile on GitHub? Can I look at that? Can I look at your contributions to open source? What is it that I get when I search you? Second, one good effect of the pandemic has been that all the conferences went online, which means that you could attend pretty much any conference anywhere in the world. A lot of the conferences are still online. Take advantage of that. Attend conferences, and then a lot of the conferences today invite people, invite submissions from the general community. So be aware of when the RFPs, request for proposals happen, submit your talk. Doesn't matter if it gets rejected, who cares? But put yourself out there. I read long time back, your net worth is determined by your network. Number 4, be active on LinkedIn and Twitter. Now, there's a very famous vlogger called Ali Abdal, and he said once in his video, by putting yourself out there, by being active on LinkedIn and Twitter and stuff like that, you increase your surface area of success. What does that mean? If you comment on people's views, maybe even contradictory, just to spark a conversation, you will get noticed. And that just increases the surface area that somebody who's looking for somebody like you will find you. And the other thing, if you have managed to get to a point where you're doing some sort of conferences, writing some blogs, even if it is your own Medium page, even if it is your own Blogspot page, that's fine. Talk about it on LinkedIn. Say, hey, I had this experience. I solved this very, very complex problem at work. Here is how I solved it. Here is my experience. And share that on LinkedIn. If you see my LinkedIn profile, you will see a bunch of conferences, blogs, webinar, post, a bunch of stuff happening. And now whenever I meet somebody who I have not met for a couple of months, the first question is, hey, I saw that blog, I saw that video of yours, good stuff, man, keep it up. So people notice, even if you don't get comments, people notice. The 5th one, help people. People remember kind people. When was the last time you said the words, how can I help? Whenever you get a chance, to your colleagues, to an event organizer, to a conference organizer, always go up and say, how can I help? You will be surprised by the amount of work you will get just by saying, hey, I'm available for help. And it doesn't take a whole lot of time. Just by you offering yourself to help somebody, it leaves a good impression. And over a long run, it makes a difference. So if you've enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. More content coming in every single week. And finally, don't forget to have a look at my book, How to Build Your Career in DevOps, which is available on Amazon worldwide. Cheers, take care, see you in the next one.